To our show this morning. We've got a lot to talk about, including the PW fund drive, and then there's a big strike at Rutgers University. We have a special guest, our old friend and comrade Norman Markowitz. Welcome, Norman. And then we're going to be
Welcome
talking
to.
about the ongoing attack against reproductive rights. And finally, a lot of news, not so good news in the, well, it kind of depends on what side of the class line you're on with respect to the big business mass media. So we'll talk about that. And then finally, our mailbag. But first, Norman, you're 79 and you've
Yeah,
taught Union at Rutgers, 1972 or 74. And it's the
71. Okay.
71. And
Yeah.
it's the first time you had to go out on strike. What the hell is happening at Rutgers?
Okay. Well, what is happening at Rutgers is that we have been working without a contract since June 30th, 2022, which is more than 9 months. What is happening at Rutgers is that the administration uh, has simply tossed the National Labor Relations Act uh, out into the garbage can, so to speak, by not bargaining in good faith, by forcing us to work without a contract for more than 9 months. Uh, and what they've been doing uh, is, in many ways, a strategy that was advocated in the 1950s by the vice president of General Electric, a man named Lemuel Bulwer. The strategy was called Bulwerism. The idea was let them work without a contract, go over their heads and present information to the union members and continue to delay, and divide. Uh, this policy was not seriously followed, particularly for industrial unions, uh, until the 1980s, when when Ronald Reagan, who was close to Bulwer and who had worked as the television host of uh, GE Playhouse in the 1950s, but also a spokesman for GE, became president. And since then, these policies, along with other anti-labor policies, have become much more common. Uh, we fought against these policies before with success, but on this contract struggle, uh, we began to put forward negotiations as early as May 2022, and we were stonewalled. And the
Stonewall.
stonewall,
Now,
stone,
Norm, you
yes,
wrote an article in the PW describing what was going on in the strike, and you said that there's a crisis at Rutgers. What is
yeah,
the crisis?
okay. Well, the crisis is, first of all, uh, the university has been deteriorating in terms of conditions of laboratories, conditions of classrooms. I have taught in classrooms without heat, with leaks, seriously. Uh, Computers that don't work. Uh, the students have to face this. There's also, as I tried to say, and as Mark Bloomberg said in his article, uh, conditions that in some respects resemble the old fashioned company town. For graduate students and undergraduates, uh, they have to pay more in fees, in tuition costs, uh, and more in housing. Uh, One of our demands is for a rent freeze for Rutgers, all of Rutgers housing, but also a rent freeze in the larger community. Uh, the deterioration is also seen in the transportation system. It's seen in the fact that one third of the the teaching is done by graduate student workers, and those graduate student workers are currently receiving about 60% of what the state would regard as a living wage. We've been advocating a significant increase, and the administration has offered less than half of what we've been advocating.
Rutgers is
And
a publicly funded, it's a state university, no?
it is the
So
major state university of New
so
Jersey.
is the problem that the state of New Jersey is not providing adequate financial support?
Well, over time, and this really begins in the 1980s too, uh, the Reagan policy of defunding nationally has trickled down, and relative to the growth of the university, funding has been reduced. And although Rutgers claims it doesn't have money, it has major endowment money. It received large hundreds of millions of dollars from the federal government during the period of the pandemic, and it used the pandemic the way I would say uh,
So it's an
capitalist.
issue of allocation of the resources.
Yeah, yeah, it's a tremendous misallocation. Uh, in the Depression, capitalists would take state money, limited money, and they'd fire workers. Uh, this is exactly what happened at Rutgers, where when the funds came in during the pandemic, there were major layoffs, particularly of the most vulnerable workers, women, African American workers, working in maintenance, working in food services. At the same time, salaries were increased for the upper managers, and what is regarded as unconscionable at Rutgers, a football coach earns $4 million a year, which makes him
Ouch.
the highest paid public employee in the state of New Jersey.
I'm
And
in the
the
wrong
you want to
profession.
talk about capitalist
I'm in the wrong
craziness.
profession. I should have gone into football coaching. No, $4
Oh
million.
yeah, oh
Norman,
yeah.
the picket line. I hear that the picket, you say it's a huge picket line. Tell us
There have
about the
been
picket line and
okay. I'll be happy to do
the
that.
atmosphere
I've been on
there.
the yeah. Okay. Sorry to interrupt you, Joe. I've been on the picket lines, and it's gotten bigger and bigger. And it's as I said in my article, I've been on many picket lines for over half a century. This is the most inspiring picket line and demonstrations or a strike that I've ever seen. The picket lines have grown and grown. They are filled with uh, not only faculty, not even primarily faculty, but graduate and undergraduate students. The speakers are talking about a strike for everyone. There are community representatives, representatives of various community groups, calling for rent freezes, calling for an end to gentrification, calling for Rutgers support on a wide variety of community issues. There are representatives, doctors, doctors in their white coats marched with us because the medical school has a large university faculty and staff, and the medical school and a lot of the real power on the board of governors comes from the medical and pharmaceutical industries. Uh, they have been, in terms of equality, equal pay for equal work, and in terms of fairness, in terms of security and promotion, they have been particularly victimized. And doctors, with their in their in their white coats, have marched with us on a number of days. Today, we are continuing the demonstrations at all three campuses. New Brunswick, Newark, and Camden. Today, we were also calling for individuals to go to Trenton, where the negotiations have been going on since the weekend when Governor Murphy, uh, who has made pro union statements and defines New Jersey, has defined New Jersey as a pro union state, brought our teams together. There was no serious negotiations of any kind until our strike authorization vote. And
Well, at least they're negotiating now. Um,
yes, right
what
now,
time
right.
is this? What time are the picket lines, Norman? I see you got your
Uh,
solidarity T-shirt on.
okay,
We
yeah, yeah,
certainly
yeah.
are. We
The picket
certainly
lines,
are in solidarity
the
with
picket
you.
lines are,
What
yeah,
time can people go down to support the picket lines?
okay,
And what can we do to support the strike?
okay. What you can do, first of all, I will send you everyone. The most important thing that everyone can do is Google AAUP AFT and get onto their strike info center, their strike info center. And that will give you all of the information about the picket lines. That will give you all of the information about the demonstrations. And you can, everyone can write in support to our union. We can write in support to our those of us who are living in New Jersey. We can write in support. We could call upon President Holloway in a direct way, I would say, to settle that this is a strike that is not defensible.
So we could write, we can call, we can
Yes,
petition, we
picket.
can
We
go
can,
down to Rutgers
yeah,
and get on the picket line.
yes.
And Norman, you are an inspiration. We are so happy
So are
to have
you. So are you.
79 years
So are
old
all of you.
walking the picket line.
Yeah,
Wonderful. You are an
yeah. Oh
example
boy.
to
Well,
all of
it's not
us.
great for my sciatica, but such is life.
Thank
Okay,
you.
okay.
Thank you
We
for
will.
joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
And
Thank you for having
see
me.
you. We'll see you on the picket line. Take
Yes.
care and have a great afternoon. We are with you.
Mhm.
And all
And
of the
I am,
students,
and we are with you too.
teachers, and professors, and doctors, and the
Yeah.
community supporting that strike. This is a rising pro working class,
Right.
pro union,
Right.
pro labor generation,
Pro
and it's
people. Pro
increasingly
democracy.
a red generation. So,
Yeah.
Norman,
Power red,
great to
not
see
the red
you.
of the Republicans.
Take care.
Power red.
Bye,
Okay.
Norman.
Goodbye.
Hi, Norman.
Let's move the agenda. We're going to be joined by Cameron in just a moment, who is taking Scott's place. Scott wasn't able to be with us. Uh, Next topic is an ongoing fight. It started, well, it's been ongoing for 25 years, but it developed in earnest last summer when the Supreme Court, in the Dobbs decision, outlawed Roe and v. Wade. Uh, and now a judge in Texas, Anita, outlawed the abortion pill. And then there was a stay, and but it didn't really do much. It was kind of a mixed verdict. And that tell us about it. And now the uh, Biden administration has appealed to the Supreme Court for redress.
Mhm.
Walk us through that
Exactly.
history.
Well, I think this is after Roe v. Wade was overturned by in the Dobbs decision. Anti-abortion forces are looking for all kinds of ways that they can reduce women's rights to reproductive freedom. And this going after mifepristone, a drug that has been shown to be effective and safe. It's safer than Tylenol and Viagra and any number of procedures like having one's wisdom teeth removed, for example. These are very low evidence of being uh, any danger. And they're just going, and they shopped for the right judge. This judge is just made for this particular case. He's the only federal judge in Amarillo, and they were able to shop for him. And he is just a religious zealot who lied to Congress when he was approved, saying that he would not let his religious feelings interfere with his decisions. But that is clearly what happened here, using crap science to justify this crazy ruling. It's just insane, and it won't hold up. I'm confident that it won't hold up in
Well,
the
it
long run.
depends on who you're talking to. Rosanna, do you think that the Supreme Court, I mean, Anita talked about the justices lying about their position. Uh, Two or three of them, oh, I mean, they just, when they had to go before Congress and the Senate, oh no, I think Roe v. Wade is settled law. And do you think that there's a chance that the Supreme Court will rule in the favor of women and their right to reproductive rights, their right to an abortion?
Well, there's always a chance. There's always a chance of, but I think they have to really make an analysis of what their last vote um, and the effects it's had, you know, on the Republican Party and voting and all of those kinds of things. But I was thinking that more, uh, looking at these more deeply, this abortion issue also is a tool to divide women, and it's a tool that keeps us from just being single issued as opposed to uniting against some of the other things that are also very oppressive towards women, like the wage differentiation, uh, child care, many other kinds of issues that affect women. So I think we have to be also mindful of it. But I think the Supreme Court would make a big mistake if they don't vote in favor of women's issues.
There's a lot of public pressure now, Cameron, uh, supporting a woman's right to choose. I mean, you saw what happened during the midterms, uh, and you saw what happened even before that in Kansas, and you saw what happened just the other day in what state was that? Wisconsin, where the pro abortion Supreme Court just blew her opponent out the box by 11 points. You know, isn't the far right shooting themselves in the foot by these extreme, the governor in Florida, Anita's good friend, Mr. DeSantis, last night, what is it, a 6 week ban. Most women
Mhm.
don't even know they're pregnant. And the boy didn't even have the guts to do it during the light of day, Cameron. He signed a tweet. I didn't know you could do that. He signed the legislation by tweet at 11 o'clock last night. Um, Seems like misshapen, mishappen, kind of a stupid strategy, no, Cameron?
Well, we certainly hope that the people keep up the pressure and make sure that these Republican extreme right efforts do backfire. Probably it seems like that they're doubling down on um, animating the most reactionary section of their base, and maybe they hope that they can basically take away a big enough section of the population's right to vote that they can stay in power that way. But um, I guess it's just we have to keep up it's definitely great to see the response from people's forces, um, and fighting against these attacks on women and on the whole working class and people and basic democratic rights. Um, and yeah, I guess it's a reflection of they're scared of they see that capitalism is in decline, that is in crisis, that the young generation especially sees that, and is looking for more radical solutions, and increasingly is mobilizing, and so they're attacking the Democrat, these movements, and as that only spurs people to fight back even more, which is exactly what we need. I think we also have to, look out for, the other side of it, which is that they're probably just gonna try to basically more and more restrict people's right to vote and stuff like that. Counting more on, riling up this very most reactionary section of their base while simultaneously, disempowering everybody else. But we just gotta keep fighting back, and keep our eyes on all these different aspects.
Now we have a program, a webinar coming up, Cameron. What is it, on the
Yeah.
23rd?
Oh, yeah. I'm glad we have that on the screen. So yeah, on April 23rd, it's a Sunday at noon. There's gonna be a class on reproductive rights, really focused on the science of it all, um, called "The Science Behind the Struggle." Basically, to give us the tools to fight against right wing misinformation, and struggle more effectively, so we can really present the facts about, and the science about you know uh, reproduction. So it'll cover the basics of like conception, fetal development, contraception, pregnancy termination, and health risks involved in all stages of pregnancy and birth. And it's going to be led by Corey Marshall, who's a doctor, family medicine doctor, and actually she studied at the Cuba. I'm gonna forget the Latin American school that Cuba
Mhm.
is
That's
affiliated
April
with.
23rd at noon, isn't it? April
Right.
23rd at,
Sunday, April 23rd at noon. If you go on the CPUSA website, you'll see it on the front page, and you can register to attend, and also receive a recording of the event afterward. So definitely go to cpusa.org, look for that event, and sign up. It'll be really important for us to get all that information as we continue to struggle.
and thank you, Cameron. And then at the end of the month, Lisa Armstrong, Dr. Armstrong is going to join us. This is the National Month against bringing attention to uh, sexual violence against women. And she's going to be joining us to talk about this very important issue. So make sure you tune in the last Friday of the month at 10:30. We're going to have a special report on that issue
Hmm.
from Lisa Armstrong. Well, there's been I keep saying, before we move on, democracy is a flower of working class and people's struggle. And the right wing, y'all can keep cutting down the flowers. But in this month of April, I said it last week, I'm going to keep on saying it. You can cut down all the flowers, but you can't stop the spring. And the more you cut it down, the more you pour poison on the grass, it's going to come up even stronger. Keep it up. You're digging your own grave. Karl Marx and them said it 200 years ago. You're digging your own grave, and And people are not going to take it. Women are not going to take it. Men aren't going to take it. Folks from other genders aren't going to take it. The American people are not going to take it. Keep it up. Keep it up. It's been a big news this week in the mass media. We labeled, we gave a title to this program. Elon Musk is a bald-faced liar. Anita, now the
Yeah.
dude is going around saying that NPR is a state-run media. Um, he knows better than that, Anita, doesn't he? Or
Well,
doesn't he?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what Elon
Oh,
Musk actually knows or what he really understands about society and power. And this is just one of the things that just irritates the hell out of me when it comes to people talking about democracy and capitalism and not seeing the contradictions between those two concepts. Why does Elon Musk have all this power in our society? Did we elect Elon Musk? I don't think so. I mean, I never had anything to do with him. He's completely unaccountable to anybody. And yet this is the person who wields power in our society. It's not democratic. We want people's voices to be heard, and not be manipulated by some billionaire. I mean, and of course we have we're also talking about Fox News. That's Rupert Murdoch with his $11 billion, $18 billion, something like that. It's just, we don't, we're at the whim of these people who have no accountability to the masses of people in this country, and they're calling the shots. It's just crazy that we're organized this way.
NPR, uh, Rosanna. Do you listen to it? My mother used to listen to it all the time. Every morning I wake up and I'd hear NPR, and especially on Sunday morning, and it has kind of been a staple of folks' life. But it's public radio. It's not state-run radio. Isn't that the case?
Yes, from my understanding, it is. And I used to listen to it way back. I don't know how long ago. I don't listen to it as much now, but yeah, it's just another attack of you know uh, silencing the media that brings people information that maybe the mainstream media doesn't. Not that NPR is really a left kind of show, but nonetheless, it's a little bit more.
It used to be kind of a left liberal kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
It had that image. But Cameron, its funding mainly comes from donations, no?
Yeah, a large part of it, and also, I think I saw a breakdown, and I'm not going to remember all the numbers down, but yeah, a big part is donations. Also, a big part is sponsorships. Some of them from corporations and stuff like that. And that's really, I think, a result of cuts to their funding. So, I don't know. Elon Musk likes to say wants. I think he's attacking them because really he's really a right wing kind of guy, and he's attacking NPR because he sees them as a liberal publication. But I think that it's positive when you have public support for broadcasting because it means it's more accountable to the public. They're not having to rely on you know on advertising, which basically forces a media company to cater to the interests of the big corporations and biggest advertisers. So really, it's a positive thing. Why doesn't Elon Musk put a corporate sponsored label on some of the other, um, you know,
Hmm.
stations?
Well, I'm glad you raised that corporate sponsoring. because there is image and then there's reality. There's image and then there's reality. And here's the reality: 40%, according to NPR, of their funding comes from corporate sponsorships. 40%. 31% from fees for programming paid by local stations. That's 71% last time I looked. You know how much it gets from the government, Anita?
1%?
1% from the, I mean, please give me a break. It's not government sponsor, it's corporate sponsorship. And the political line of NPR, according to some, has kind of shifted to the right. I'm not saying it's right wing, but it sure ain't what it used to be back in the 70s and the 80s. Elon Musk, bald-faced liar. Liar, liar, pants on fire. Okay, enough about Elon Musk. Let's go to our mailbag. Uh, we let's go to our mailbag and talk a little bit about. Here we have a question from about the Black Panther Party. What kind of role do you think the Black Panther Party played in the U.S. socialist movement back in the 60s and 70s? Did they fall out? Did they decline out of sheer repression from the government? Or did they do something wrong? And how should we integrate minorities into the United Front? Now, that was two different questions. Rosanna, what kind of role do you think the Panthers played back in the day?
You know, I don't know too much about the Black Panthers and their struggle, only what I've heard here and there. Um, but if it was anything then like the Chicano movement when I was involved, there were of course very difficult problems. Uh, Too much nationalism, too much single issues, um, big male supremacy problem, uh, and probably other flaws in humans and errors and things like that. But at the end of the day, there is always that uh, strength of building an identity, building self empowerment, or building the um, the the pride of who you are as a person of color. So I think that that would be what I would say was probably a very strong point.
That was a very strong point indeed. Anita, you're a child of the 60s.
Mhm.
What impact did the that
Well,
Panthers came out of the New Left and the
mhm.
Black Liberation Movement at the how did you see them back in the day?
Well, I can't remember how I saw them back in the day that long ago, but through the 80s and the 90s and the aughts, I taught a course where I showed my students every semester the Eyes on the Prize episode about Fred Hampton. And I still get choked up to even think about that. He was such an inspiration, and he was gunned down by police when he was just at the beginning of his life, about the age that my students would be when I showed them the film. And he was so inspirational. I think that's the lasting legacy of the Black Panthers, that people it laid bare the police repression of those kind of struggles for socialism and for progressive policies and for the advancement of people who are nationally oppressed. So I really think Fred Hampton was an inspiration. His vehicle was the Black Panther Party, and I find a lot of good to think about with their legacy.
You know, the Panthers, when we were coming up, the Panthers were our heroes, you know. I had a picture of Huey Newton on my wall and Eldridge, who later turned out to be a phony, Cleaver, and Bobby Seale, and Kathleen Cleaver, and all of them. And we were uh, encouraged by their courage and by their standing up to the police, uh, and and uh, and we learned about their community orientation with the free breakfast program and the free health clinics that they set up in a number of different cities around the country, and they added indeed a socialist orientation to the African American freedom movement. They were a product of the New Left in the 1960s. They weren't strictly Marxist. They were more influenced by Fanon, Frantz Fanon, and Herbert Marcuse, who kind of came out of the Frankfurt School, and they as a result identified lumpen proletariat as the revolutionary force. They didn't really see the importance of the working class as an instrument of struggle. So they did a lot of positive things, but there are also some negatives and some mistakes that they made. Rosanna pointed to one of the negatives: male supremacy. A lot of the women who were in the Panthers complained about that. That was a negative, and the courageous uh, policing of the police that they undertook. Uh, Really, tactically, it was brave, but it wasn't very smart. And the FBI and the police departments around the country targeted them for elimination, and they went after them like nobody's business. So, my opinion, they made a big contribution. They were very courageous. Rosanna is right. They inspired a great deal of racial and national pride. But there were also, you know, important lessons to draw from that experience. And one of the big things, lasting legacies of the Panthers, was community control of the police. That's where that idea came from. And now in Chicago, you know, you have a bill passed by the city council, and you have a number of different local institutions set up that are going to help govern policing in Chicago. You got a mayor, Brandon Johnson, mayor elect, that supports that. So, uh, lot of positives and a lot to learn from. Well, that does it for this week. We want to thank everybody for coming. Get that ugly Elon Musk off of the.
Yeah,
That's what we should be. Worker
that's
rights are human rights, because increasingly the working class is the human race, not completely. But when you get doctors and lawyers and professors on the picket line, those folks being pushed down into the, you know, working class is the world. Take care. See you next week. Uh, and stay strong, stay safe, stay in the fight. Bye, everybody.
Bye.